This is the XPT, the Australian version of the iconic British Intercity 125 high-speed train, used on overnight services linking Sydney to Melbourne every night. But this is not your average night train. With the train having just one sleeping carriage that sells out months in advance, I had to opt for a second-class seat for the not-so-high-speed 11-hour overnight journey to Melbourne. So join me for the experience in the cheapest seat on board as I show you the not-so-great things about the train and its arguably even less exciting future replacement. Our journey begins at the beautiful Sydney Central Station on a lovely summer evening. Opened in 1906, the station is now Australia's largest and the main hub for Sydney's rail network. Heading inside to the Grand Concourse, this is where you will find most of the long-distance services. This is a beautiful station hall, especially with the colourfully lit roof in the evenings. Inside the station you will find a ticket office for New South Wales TrainLink, the operator of long-distance services in and out of New South Wales. There's also plenty of vending machines, and you might even want to use this one selling power banks if you haven't brought your own along for this journey. In the Easy Mart you will find plenty of snacks, drinks and pre-packaged food, and it's pretty much the only thing that's still left open by the time the sleeper departs. If you have time, make sure you don't miss the posters about the station's history located throughout. The more modern departure boards tell us that our train will be leaving fairly soon from platform number 1. Also, am I the only one who just loved the train departure screens used in Sydney? They are so clear and easy to understand. The train is usually ready for boarding about 30 minutes before departure. And today is no exception, with our XPT being ready for boarding. The XPT was built in 1981 locally in Australia by Cumming and ABB, but unlike their British counterparts, they are actually only capable of 160 km per hour or 100 miles per hour. On the sleeper train to Sydney, the consist is made up of one first-class carriage, one buffet car, one sleeper car and 2 economy class cars. And as all seats in both the sleeping carriage and in first class were sold out tonight, I'm travelling in economy. All seats come with a reservation and you can easily locate your carriage on the outside of the train. So let's head on board. As you can see, the train is already pretty much full, but all seats rotate to face the direction of travel. And towards the front is where we'll find my seat for the night, number 7. I'll show you the seat in greater detail after we depart. Departure is on time at 20:42 from Sydney Central Station. The departure out of Sydney Central is fairly slow, and as there's not much to see out of the window, let's instead take a look at the route map for tonight's journey. We are on board Overnight XPT 621, which leaves from Sydney every day at 20:42, making stops at Campbelltown, Moss Vale, Goulburn, Yass Junction, Harden, Cootamundra, Junee, Wagga Wagga, The Rock, Henty, Colcairn, Albury, Wangaratta, Benalla, Seymour, Broadmeadows and Melbourne Southern Cross. The trip covers a distance of 935 kilometers in 10 hours 48 minutes, giving it an average speed of 86 kilometers per hour. And as we wiggle our way through Sydney's suburban stations, let's have a look at the rest of the train. Starting with one of the economy class carriages. As you can see by the doors, you'll find space for large luggage, in addition to the pretty sizable overhead racks. And as I found an unoccupied seat here, let me show you around the seats. The seats offer a generous amount of recline. They come in this airline style configuration, but with loads of legroom and a movable footrest. There is a tray table, but it is fairly flimsy, so I wouldn't recommend using it with a laptop. The movable armrest is slightly padded, and the seats themselves are actually really comfortable. Very well padded with a nice headrest, but we'll see what I feel like tomorrow after sleeping in them. It's worth noting that these trains do not have power outlet. And there's no Wi-Fi either. So for entertainment we can instead go and check out the toilets. toilets are fairly basic, featuring a simple locking mechanism, a clean vacuum toilet, a bin, a dryer, as well as a sink offering both hot and cold water with these interesting knobs. Everything seems to be working, so I'll give a thumbs up. A thing I really like about long distance trains in Australia is that a lot of them have chilled drinking water on board with fountains like this. But if you're feeling more thirsty for a soda or even hungry, you can go visit the Onboard buffet. Payment is possible both by card and cash. A proper hot meal is also offered on a day-by-day basis, so listen out for the announcement or ask the buffet staff what's on offer. The other end of the buffet car is where you also find the accessible area, where you can see the wheelchair space like this, and there's also some seats here. This is of course also where you'll find the accessible toilet. And the next carriage is where we'll find first class. It's exactly the same seats as in economy class, but just with even more legroom. As mentioned, all the sleepers were unfortunately sold out tonight, so I can show you some pictures instead. And that's pretty much the entire train, so let's go back to our seat. As I wasn't sure what kind of food would be available on board, I got a Fanta and wrap from the Easy Market at Central as my dinner. And after our stop at Campbelltown, the crew will actually dim the lights even in the seated cabins. So make sure you know where the reading light is. But apart from that, then it's time to try and get comfortable in the seat as we cruise overnight towards Melbourne. And good morning. I woke up around 6 AM somewhere in between Benalla and Seymour, after what I could consider an okay night, at least considering we were in a seat. Don't get me wrong, it's not super comfortable, but the seats are well padded, and the trains have good suspension, so it's possible to close your eyes for an hour or two at a time. Interestingly, now that we have crossed into New South Wales, we are actually on a special dual gauge railway line. While most of the railways around Sydney are built to standard gauge, including all trains, the ones originating from Melbourne is generally broad gauge. So gradually over the years a set of standard gauge track was built next to the existing broad gauge line within Victoria, in order to facilitate running trains like our XPT all the way from Sydney to Melbourne without a gauge change. And as railway electrification appear, that means we're getting fairly close to Melbourne, so it's time to sum up my thoughts about this train. It baffles me that there is not a proper night train on this route. With a journey time of just shy of 11 hours, it's perfect to board in Sydney, have dinner, go to bed and wake up refreshed in the morning, ready to explore Melbourne. There is definitely a market for this, especially considering this train often sells out and this is one of the busiest airplane corridors in the world. And unfortunately, as these trains are getting old, lack modern amenities like Wi-Fi and power outlets, and generally are not really adequate for working night trains, you'd be really excited to hear that they're getting replaced. Except in this case, these trains are being replaced by a multiple unit that looks like it was designed for sub 3-hour regional trips, not 10-hour overnight ones. Oh, and did I mention that none of these will actually have any beds on board? So yeah, in short, New South Wales is pretty much destroying their entire long-distance regional network and their overnight train service for the sake of a unified fleet. But yay, at least they're buy mode. So as we approach into Melbourne, I cannot help but feel a bit confused about this service. It sells out weeks in advance in the sleeping cabin, but is being replaced with a train that doesn't even have them. But despite having to travel in a seat, I actually had a pretty okay night, thanks to the lights being dimmed and the seats being pretty comfortable. And I was quite impressed by the price too. At 118 Australian dollars booked 2 days in advance, it was less than what any airline was charging at the time, and I saved a hotel night too. It's not often I don't really know what to think about a train. The onboard product is hardly up to the standard of pretty much any other night train I've travelled on, but on the other hand, it's much better than its replacement. So what do you think about the current XPT service and the prospects of night trains on this corridor? Let me know in the comments below. And here we are, pulling into Melbourne Southern Cross Station, roughly 25 minutes behind schedule. Thank you so much for joining me on this trip. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, as I try to post a new one every Sunday. You can also follow me on Twitter at IntercitySimon. I usually post live from my travels over there, so it's a great place to get a sneak peek at what videos might be coming to the channel in the future. And as always, thanks for watching.